Jack Hermansson and Chris Curtis in the middleweight division, London, England, UK, on the co-main event of Blades versus Aspinall. UFC Fight Night. Tapology going with Curtis, half by knockout, half by decision. And then we got 70% of the Hermansson vote saying he's going to win the fight by a decision. 29% going Hermansson. Betting odds are 50-50, pretty much slightly favoring the up-and-comer right here in Chris Curtis at minus 140. He was at plus 140 right there, but then became a pretty sizable favorite. Now, this is a good fight. Both guys are very legit in their divisions. Chris Curtis, he was a welterweight fighter. If you look at him early on in his career, he was fighting Andre Fialho over there in the PFL, knocked him out in the third round. I mean, if you go all the way back, like I'm talking all the way back, we got Bilal Muhammad back in 2014 in the main events, I believe also in the welterweight division. So naturally, Chris Curtis is more of a welterweight fighter, but he's been building into his frame at middleweight. He's talked about it in the interviews where he's been saying his cut to the middleweight division is so much easier, especially because he's taken all of his fights on a short notice. He would like to just go in there and not have to cut to welterweight. Because if you remember, his fight right before joining the UFC was in the welterweight division. Then when he joined the UFC, if you look right here, Phil Hawes, Brendan Allen, Rodolfo Vieira, all three fights were in the middleweight division, which is very, very interesting. And he's saying he has a much better time cutting to middleweight than welterweight for obvious reasons. And he feels a lot better. So this is interesting. We got a welterweight fighter that's going to be naturally a little bit smaller than Jack Hermansson, who's a pretty big guy for this UFC middleweight division. Just lost to Sean Strickland. Again, I don't really know why it was a split decision, but it was. He beat Edmund Shabazian, Kelvin Gastelum, Mersh, Souza, lost to Cannonier, Vittori, and Strickland. But we know the game plan. Jack Hermansson going out there looking to close that distance. He's going to have the height. He's going to have the reach. So it's going to force either Chris to come to him, or it's going to be easier for Jack to come to Chris, making it a little bit easier for Jack Hermansson to land those takedowns. But, and this is a very, very big but, not the Kim Kardashian or anything like that, but the takedown defense of Chris Curtis, I love it. I really, really love it. That's why I was so high on him in the last fight with Rodolfo Vieira. He was one of my more confident picks of the card, was because I thought his takedown defense was really, really good. He's the much better striker. Again, I was like one of the only guys going for a decision win right there. And for rightful reason is because Rodolfo is more of a grappler wrestler guy, and I thought if he was able to defend the takedowns, Rodolfo wouldn't be able to gas as much as he usually does because he's not wrestling and grappling as much as he usually does. But it's going to be an interesting fight. Obviously, Chris wants to keep the fight on the feet. He wants to land those hard shots on the feet, pressure forward on Jack, throw some bombs and things like that. And he wants to land the harder shots, more shots, and win the fight on the judges' scorecards, or maybe knock out Jack Hermansson like Jerry Cannonier did against Jack in the main event 2.5 years ago, where Jack's back was to the cage and Jared threw that uppercut and knocked him out. So it's a tough fight to predict because on one hand, Jack's a lot bigger. He's a little bit more UFC experience, I would say, and he's the better wrestler and grappler. But again, Chris Curtis has better takedown defense. He's a better striker. He's faster, and he is more powerful on the feet. So it's a tough one to predict. I think it could go either way. The odds are just exactly how they should be. Slight lean towards Chris Curtis, like the odds have it. I'm going to go Chris Curtis defending those takedowns like he did 20 times in his last fight with none other than one of the greatest grapplers at middleweight, Rodolfo Vieira. Now he's taking on another one, but I think we have a similar fight on our hands. 29-28 decision win for Chris Curtis here in the middleweight division.